For a meeting of the Akron Public School Board. Roll call, please, Dr. Thompson.
Mr. Alexander.
Present.
Ms. Autry.
Present.
Ms. Jackson.
Present.
Dr. Molnar.
Present.
Mr. Perry.
I am here.
Mrs. Sykes.
Present.
6 present, 1 absent.
Thank you so much. And if you are able to, please stand as we do the pledges of allegiance. Vice President Jackson, would you please lead us? Thank you. And at this time, we will need to entertain a motion to adjourn from our August 10th board retreat, which we neglected to do at that time.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Alexander.
Second.
It's been seconded by Dr. Molnar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson.
Mrs. Sykes.
Yes.
Dr. Molnar.
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Ms. Autry.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, and we are considered adjourned from our retreat. Next item is 2.1, recognition, support staff of the year. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, President Autry. As we have done with the Principal of the Year and Teacher of the Year, we are now implementing Support Staff Member of the Year as well. These things, of course, would normally come in May, but unfortunately, we weren't able to do it at that time, but we wanted to make sure that we do it before school started. And so I want to acknowledge the work that has been done, excuse me, by Ms. Shillery Haynes, who has worked for our district for 15 years and is a highly dedicated and valued employee at Bookdale CLC. She pays close attention to details of her work and is known for her reliability, even when working alone or with a building of substitutes. Ms. Haynes has impeccable work ethics, extensive knowledge about her position, and has a positive attitude that shines through even under pressure. She's consistently doing what is asked of her and is very dependable. Ms. Haynes is an indispensable asset to the Bookdale, to Bookdale, and they are blessed to have such a very dedicated employee. Ms. Haynes, would you come forward, please? Present this plaque to you. Also, it's a award. There is also going to be right outside this wall, it may not be there now, but it will be. We're going to have a plaque for the Teacher of the Year, Support Staff Member of the Year, and Principal of the Year, which will be right outside of the boardroom. Just wanted to say thank you and let you know how much we appreciate you.
Thank you.
We're going to get one with all the board members. Can you get it right here? Okay.
Great
Can
things
all the board
happening
members
at 1040.
come right here?
Excellent emotion.
Thank you.
Say, Shillery. All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I know she is very humble, but I also just wanted to chime in as I had the opportunity to work with Mrs. Haynes over many years over at Bookdale. And they always say secretaries are your best friends in the building, and she has definitely been that, and I just want to thank you as well. Next item on the agenda are board member reflections. Are there any reflections? Dr. Molnar.
Thank you, Madam President. I have just a couple of reflections. The first one is last Saturday after our board retreat, I went to Patterson Sports Complex for the Karen Martyrs Day Festival, and I saw a lot of our community members and a lot of students who were actually looking forward to and excited to school. They had a lot of questions about going back to school, many of the students in our North Cluster. And so I know Dr. Robinson is going to talk about the packets that recently went out, and I know Ms. Carter also emailed the link that is available for a website, but I wanted to mention here too, it's the akronschools.com for students, families back to school. And so there's a lot of information there, school supply lists and other information about back to school because it is here. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Molnar. Are there any other reflections? Ms. Rout? Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Madam President. Just quickly, I want to give a shout out to Aaliyah Golden, who was one of our ambassadors at Bookdale CLC, who also recently graduated. She helped to she participated and helped young people throughout the district and the greater Akron community at a summer camp, a My Star summer camp, which is the brainstyle of then Councilman, now Judge David Hamilton, and a lot of young inner city students and a lot of kids from our district attended, some for the first year, and Aaliyah helped them with coming up with their business plan, their ideas, and pitching their ideas. She did a fantastic job, and I'm very proud of her. It speaks to who she is as a person, but also the leaders that were graduating from our district, that she spent her summer doing that and really pouring into the young people the same things that she learned, that she would come back and serve them in the spirit of excellence. So I definitely want to give Aaliyah a shout out, and a shout out to the district for our programming and for our county council and the office of Eileen Shapiro as well for supporting our young people in such efforts, because what they see they can be, and when you see young people giving back, it's just a wonderful thing. And also for any community members that attended, I want to thank them as well.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to give a brief synopsis of what's going on. I was in Columbus the last couple of weeks, and there's a lot that's going on down there. As we know, a lot of our laws and so forth that we have to abide by here at the school district comes out of Columbus, and there are a number of House bills, and that's too many of them for me to go over and say within this period of time, but I want to let everyone know that there's a lot that's going on regarding public education, and a lot of things that will come down to affect us, some in a positive way and some may not be in the best way or best of our interests. So we need to look out for those. I will make sure my board members get those bills so that you can see what's going on. Then they have what they call a lame duck session, and in the lame duck there's a lot of other things that are coming through as well. Those have not been approved by the governor, but they will be possibly approved sometime. One of the things I did talk to Superintendent Dr. Robinson about was there was, and I have to get more information, there was money that they said for facilities, and if there's any way that we could possibly get some, I don't know if we would be eligible or not, but I would love for us to see if we can be eligible for some of that money, because we do need finances, of course, you know, for North High School, and if we can get some money from the state to help us with that, that would be a great opportunity for us to gain those dollars. So there'll be more that I'll get out to my fellow board members, but there's a lot of, there's probably about 12, 14 pages I have to send to you, so you'll get all that information as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Are there any other board reflections? So I will just end with sharing that since we last met, I had the opportunity to be there for the first day of school at I Promise on the 29th. So that was nice to see all the kids coming back and all the excited teachers, and thank you to all of those staff members who show up supporting our students. I know they go back earlier than everyone else, but it was a great opportunity just to share in that moment for those students. Also, since we last met, was able to attend the United Way's report out to the community, one of our partners in the district. Special thank you to them just for their continued support, specifically as it relates to our family resource centers. They did share out a story about families that they've helped through our family resource centers and other individuals as well. And just as a reminder, we do have 5 of those resource centers currently that help connect our families to resources for basic needs, health and wellness, and financial coaching. And they are located at Helen Arnold North, Higher CLC, Mickey Bright CLC, and Robinson CLC. And thanks again to the United Way. And so that will conclude my community reflections. And so next on our agenda, we do have one request to address the board. Mr. Lyons, if you want to make your way up, I know you are familiar, but I will still read the preamble here as you approach. Participants will not be permitted to speak on matters related to vendors, business matters, formal complaints, grievances, specific student or student records, personnel matters, and potential or pending legal matters. Participants must speak on matters related to the business of the board. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. The board will not respond, but will assign through the superintendent the appropriate person for follow-up. Thank you, Mr. Lyons. You may proceed.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you to the board. I'm sure that this has been a lot more than what possibly you thought was going to happen. We are thankful that you have listened to us. We're thankful to the administration for listening. Got a lot more to do in that area with the administration. And we have saw routes on Friday, I believe. We have another meeting tomorrow. We have a route pick on the 15th. That's all right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Superintendent's report. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, President Autry, board members, Vice President Jackson. So I wanted to recognize the hard work and dedication that has gone into putting these packets together through Ms. Deborah's office, as well as other people who have supported our printing shop. Poor Mr. Jerry down there. We really appreciate him. But a lot of work goes into this, and we want to make sure our parents know and our families know that these will be going home. They were sent out today, or they're going out tomorrow, but they've already been sent out. Okay, great. The other letter I'm going to talk about is going out tomorrow. Getting a lot of handouts that are going to go out to our families, but just wanted our parents to know that they will be receiving. There's an elementary packet and a secondary packet. Has all the information that you need in terms of opening of school. Probably will answer a lot of questions that you may have. There will be some documents that we will need parents to sign and return on the first day of school or within that first week of school. So again, just wanting to make sure our families know that there will be an elementary and a secondary packet going home. If we receive the packet back and the parents don't get it, it is because we have a wrong address, and we're more than happy if you can come down to the central office, to the engagement center. We will be more than happy to provide it to you. We will need a new address update, and with that, we will need you to have 2 proofs of residency. Thank you. so that we can fix this quickly. It's something we can do very quickly and make sure our parents get this. Also, there's been about 2 letters, maybe 3, that have gone home or will be going home to families throughout this summer, addressing the dress code with policy, reminding our families that we will be enforcing our policy this year. So met with the administrators today about that. Also, just reminding our families, our parents, our scholars, we want to have a great start to the school year. We want them to have a great start to the school year. And so we want to address some of the issues that we just deal with, normal things that we deal with in schools, but just as reminders to our families and to our community. Started school, we actually have started school in Akron Public Schools already. We began on August 29th with I Promise and had a phenomenal time over there with them. And then we went to the event that they had with the LeBron James Family Foundation at Cedar Point. So I got to see where Cedar Point was. It's my first time going. And I enjoyed it. I only had one thing to say that I didn't enjoy, and that's because I couldn't get beignets before I left. They didn't open until 2 o'clock. But I really had a great time. It was beautiful. Got me a shirt, lovely I Promise shirt, and so and it is really nice. And so thank you to Ms. Victoria, to Dr. Campbell, and to the entire I Promise School and the foundation. I really had a good time. Visited Gilby's Garden Wednesday, July the 31st. Had a really awesome time at the garden, and they never send me back empty-handed. So thank you so much for that. Had a great time with our senior leadership earlier this month. Our driving school of Ohio has really been a fantastic partner. They are truly paying it forward. Easy financial hardships for so many of our families here in APS. But not only did they offer discounted rates to our students who didn't win the scholarship through the Drive to Succeed grant, through the Ohio Traffic Safety Office, but they themselves also covered 12 additional scholarships for our students, and decided to generously donate one of their older drivers' ed vehicles to a deserving family who participated in the program. And together, coupling scholarships and discounted rates, we were able to make driver's education more affordable for 131 students, including more than a dozen of our CCAA work-based learning students. And also want to recognize on Wednesday, August 7th, the Lippy family received the donated car. And so want to also thank, I don't have the name, Mr. Joe Riley. Thank you. I want to make sure that I acknowledge Mr. Riley because he was a key instrumental figure in making this happen. And so I want to thank him and the Kiwanis Club for which he is a part of. United Way, thank them, had a wonderful time at their report to the community on Wednesday, August 7th. And we really appreciate what United Way does for us in terms of our resource centers and hoping that we can continue to work with them to get even more. Our families need it and they really appreciate it. CCAA Steering Committee had that event on Friday, August 9th. And the family, I've already talked about the packets. Board members, I gave you a copy of a really, one of my favorite poems. I read it every morning. I might have to read it sometimes multiple times during the day. But I wanted you to have a copy of it, and thank you for allowing me to be here 1 year. And I have, August 1st made a year that I've been in the district, and so I'm not new anymore, I guess. But thank you so much for allowing me to work with you, and we will continue to do the work that needs to be done. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Robinson? Thank you. And so next, we will have a cosmetology update from Mrs. Ebright. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Board President and board members and Superintendent, thank you for having me here. Superintendent Robinson asked that I give a small update around the cosmetology program and how it occurs this year for Bookville CLC. So we take our mission and vision in college and career academies very serious. That our scholars are college, career, and life ready, and providing those innovative educational experiences, of which the Bookville Cosmetology program is one, and that they will graduate architects of their future, prepared to thrive in an ever-changing world. Tonight's presentation is all around that academic achievement and our commitment there. And I'm going to talk about the pathway itself. Unlike our other pathways, this is a fully licensed state cosmetology program. It has within it 1,789 hours available for students to be able to access the resources they need to become a licensed cosmetologist. We were recently reapproved in May of 2024 for those hours for this coming school year, for the 24-25 school year. We must follow all cosmetology board policies and regulations as if it is a full school, as any post-secondary institution would need to. And there is a fully licensed cosmetology instructor with 10 years professional experience now placed in that position from that field. This is a value of about $24,000 if a student were to graduate and try to do all of these things independently with the expenses, the courses, and the related materials that they would need. It's valued at around $24,000. Successful completion of this program includes, we are number 5 up on the screen. If a student completes 1,500 hours of the cosmetology program and all the subsets of the hours and the licensing, takes the licensing, they are qualified for everything in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that includes the manicuring, natural hairstylist, aesthetics, hair designer, and the full cosmetology. We often get the question about barbering, and can we have cosmetology and barbering? Barbering is cosmetology. In order to move into barbering, you have to complete the cosmetology program. So it is an additional 300 hours in order on top of the 1,500 hours to reach barbering as well. It also requires the extensive use of a straight razor, which is often difficult for 16-year-olds to find a live person to practice on, so, as you might imagine. And so typically your public school systems shy away from that. And you might notice your typical cosmetology person that you go to is saying, I'm going back for barbering. It's usually something that people pursue and they add in those hours to their cosmetology license later. And if you, on the previous screen, I just told you we had 1,789 hours. That's if a student is here for every single hour, every single lab, every single course, and that's the total number of hours we have. So it's not impossible to do. We would just need to find additional time, resources, and places in the schedule beyond the day, and for students to really probably take advantage of getting extra hours in for that. So I am happy that we do have a fully licensed cosmetology program that's on deck for 24-25. The other question we get a lot is the last couple classes have been under hair designer. The state's very particular about the licensing that they issue to students who go through this program, and for good reason, right? You need to know how to be able to style someone's hair and take care of their skin and do so in a safe manner. We had submitted for cosmetology. The last few classes were affected by a couple things. One was the remote learning year. The state cosmetology board did not accept any of the remote learning hours as hours we could count in our total hours. So one way to address that was to address the 1,200 hours. We thought that was more attainable in the hours that we had available to offer students to finish. And then another class was affected as we had a change in the cosmetology instructor. The original cosmetology instructor had an injury that took her off-site, and a sub instructor was placed, a sub was placed there who was not yet fully licensed in the cosmetology program. He has since become fully licensed in order to teach our kids, and that's why we were able to reoffer a full cosmetology program moving forward. So students earn those hours in classroom attendance. There's courses in theory that they must take, and they have to show all the sub-hours inside of those. They're tracked every month and shared with the students about the hours that they are attaining. They can also earn hours by credit attainment in anatomy, biology, chemistry, and algebra 2. So of that 1,789, 509 hours can come from successfully completing those classes. We've also had additional hour opportunities for students to attend after-school cosmetology workshops where they could have earned 160 hours. This is not included in the original submission. Everything that we say in that 1,789 hours are daytime hours between the distance theory that the students need to complete, classroom theory, credits, and labs. They could have also participated in summer camps. We offered 160 hours in summer camps for makeup, and they could have participated in salon internships for earning about 10% of the available hours that they need, or 150 hours. So we offer about 470 hours in just makeup time on top of the 1,789. So as we've looked at what's been going on with the success rates and where students have landed with their hours in completion, one area of concern is the daily attendance of students. We really need to have a conversation that this program needs you to be there. Unlike other pathways in credentialing, we can often get kids through credentials even if they miss some lab time, even if they miss some of the tests or they miss some of the lessons. With the number of hours being so tight, in order to get to 1,500, we have 1,789 available. The window becomes very small for error. To increase the completion of all the distance learning labs, that's been an area of concern where those have not been completed as much as they should. Making sure that we have participation and taking advantage of those after-school and summer workshops to help make up hours. And we know that we want to do a greater job talking with our families and making sure that they can support their students to set the goals that are needed for every semester's completion towards hours. So we're looking at an orientation for all of those families as students start in the cosmetology program in 10th grade, and monthly communications home so they know exactly where their student is at all along the way. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
Thank you, Mrs. Ebright. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jackson?
So the extra hours that they'll be getting, the communication, this is all the moving forward on the current program that was recently reapproved in May of 2024, correct?
Correct. So we have a full cosmetology program for this year.
No, I understand. I just need to walk through it so I make sure I understood everything. So we have a licensed full cosmetology, because I'm sure everyone here knows that I had an issue because students were coming to me from the Bookville cluster and they were getting hair design and they weren't licensed cosmetologists. So I just want to reassure to the community, as you have stated very well, that now moving forward from the 2024-2025 school year, that's what we apply with the Hall Department of Cosmetology, that this is our full program. You stated the hours. We're going to communicate with parents, the importance of the attendance, which you said has been an issue in the past. My question is going back to these last 2 years of hair design. Did I speak accurately? That it was hair design, not cosmetology, the last 2 years? Okay, so they wouldn't have been getting hours towards a cosmetologist to be a licensed cosmetologist in the last 2 years. Is that correct?
This is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. But now we're set to go. Our kids are in good shape. And these things about attendance and what's required to get the licensure is for the upcoming reapproved program for 2024.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on that it's now in place, reinstituted from 2 years.
Yes.
Okay,
That's what we were approved for from the state. That's correct.
I'm happy about that.
Me too.
Thank you.
We're all very happy about it.
Because all that college careers talk and being approved and $24,000 to be able to save in your school district is excellent for kids to be able to get that skill set. So I'm thankful for the team that put in the work to ensure that our students in the Boothville cluster will, in fact, have that. And as a community, I know I'm committed to, because a lot of those kids on that attendance list, I know those parents, I could get them on the phone and call. So that's why I'm saying attendance, the community can get involved and we can ensure that these things happen, because a lot of these kids and these families are tangible and a lot of the parents are motivated to make sure it happens, but they need to know. All right, so thank you.
Absolutely. Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mrs. Ebright, so for the students for the last 2 years who have the hair design, are they able to go to another program and just add the additional 300 hours?
Many of those hours would be transferable to a post-secondary institution for them to continue, absolutely. If some of them are the recent graduates who want to still get their licensing, and met the hours with us and maybe didn't get a chance to actually test for their hair design license, we'll still pay for that for them too.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much for your presentation.
All right, thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the treasurer's report.
I really had no report, except I do have a question for Marcy. Is there anything in the cosmetology program they could do for me? Not enough hours. You can grow yours, though. Yours is by choice.
Y'all can let them practice with that straight razor and barbering. That's what y'all can do.
No report.
Thank you. And so for the president's report, I just wanted to thank my colleagues for coming out this past Saturday for our retreat. I think it was very helpful for us. And so I'm just looking forward to continued growth. And if there are any particular topics that you want the consultant to address next time moving forward, please let me know. And then also, I just wanted to make the community and board members aware that next Tuesday and Wednesday, backpack adventures at the Akron Zoo is taking place from 4 to 8 p.m. And so if board members are able to come out and meet some of our families and caregivers and students, kindergarten registration will be available there, as well as free backpacks and book supplies. So that's next Tuesday and Wednesday from 4 to 8 at the Akron Zoo. And that is all that I have. Next, we will have committee reports, legal contracts and board policy. I don't think there's been a meeting.
There has not been a meeting, but the agenda for next week has been posted. So we do have the agenda for the August 19th meeting at 5:30. Our last legal meeting came up with a lot of items. We brought a lot of policies to the board. So I hope nothing was left off. Mr. Diffaba, I don't know if one of yours is still in discussion or not, so please let me know if that's not on there. But thank you to Heidi for getting this all together and having it ready and posted in board docs for us.
Thank you. Finance and capital management.
We are meeting next Monday at 4:30. There's no report right now. I'll remind the public, as I always do at these meetings, of our APS Levy website, or email address, I'm sorry. It's apslevyinfo@gmail.com. That is being checked daily after hours. Make sure you email any questions, concerns, things you're unsure about with the levy to that email address, apslevyinfo@gmail.com.
Thank you. Instructional policy and student achievement, that meeting was canceled in light of our special meeting, so there's no report for that as well. Next is Equity Committee. Mr. Alexander.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Equity Committee met on August the 5th, which was last Monday, and those who were present were Board Member Hall, President Autry, Dr. Chapman, and myself. And Dr. Chapman reviewed the responsibilities of the sourcing and supplier diversity benchmarks from the Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion benchmarks from 2021 and the Greater Cleveland Partnership for Equity and Inclusion Organization Self-Assessment from 2022. Dr. Chapman provided an overview of the proactive, progressive, and best practice standards our district should be addressing in our work. These practices are aligned with Cornerstone 3 of the Blueprint for Excellence. Each one of you have a handout at your place, and you can look at this here, and it talks about the sources and the supplier diversity benchmarks that we are being proactive in thus far. We also talked about briefly and possibly having an equity audit, which we think would be good and would be done from someone outside the district to make sure that we're doing what we need to do and to give us some guidelines if we need to say, hey, we're meeting the benchmarks that we want to meet or we're not, and if we're not, how can we meet those benchmarks? And then possibly as we move along, as time moves in the future years, that we could probably, hopefully, beef up the equity department, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and there's a lot of things that are going through the equity department right now, and it's a lot of work that's being done with few people, so we might have to worry about building that department up. And that is our report, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Any questions? Thank you. And so next on the agenda is approval of our previous meeting minutes. We will first entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the regular board meeting on July 22nd, 2024. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
It's been moved by Member Perry. Is there a second? Second. It's been seconded by Vice President Jackson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson?
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes.
Yes.
Dr. Molnar.
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Ms. Autry.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. And next we will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our special board meeting from Monday, August 5th, 2024. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
It's been moved by Mr. Perry. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Member Alexander. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please, Dr. Thompson.
Ms. Jackson.
Abstain, as I should before I was not present.
Abstain. Mr. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes.
Yes.
Dr. Molnar.
Abstain.
Mr. Alexander.
Yes.
Ms. Autry.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0 with 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Next, we will have our personnel recommendations. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. Thank you, President Autry. I wish to recommend the approval of the personnel recommendations presented in categories 10 through 19, please.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept our personnel recommendations?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Alexander. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Perry. Is there any discussion? Mr. Perry.
Yeah, I would like to point out once again in 11.1, the reinstatements from reduction in force, these are ongoing and they're always on our agenda, which is always good to see. And I want to just commend the administration for keeping their word about bringing people back who lost their jobs, unfortunately. And we're continuing to doing this, and it's good to see. So I want to congratulate them for coming back to APS. I want to point this out every time I see it. So that is very good. Good job.
Thank you. Dr. Molnar.
Thank you, Madam President. I also wanted to point out the reinstatement from the reduction in force. And I was wondering also, is everyone coming back in the positions that they left in, or have we had to put people into different?
So it all depends. So a lot of our teachers are have dual licensures, so they may be credentialed in more than one area.
And so some teachers are coming back in a different position that allowed them to come because of their dual licensure. So some people are coming back into some same positions, some not. So if I'm a K-3 licensed person, I may not come back to a third grade, but I may come back to a kindergarten position. So that's just an example.
Okay, yeah, because I was wondering, I know, like, in 11-1, I saw someone's coming back for MTSS, so I didn't know, did we let go of MTSS people or bring back MTSS? I'm like, that's new.
He was RIF, and he was a student success coach. So he was one of the non-administrator, non-licensure people who was RIF, and he applied for that position and was selected. It's still a reinstatement because he was RIF. And same for the other person at the top. He was an academy coach.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion around personnel recommendations? Seeing none, roll call, please, Dr. Thompson.
Mr. Perry,
Abstain from 10.13, yes on the balance.
Mrs. Sykes, Dr. Molnar,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes, abstain from 10.13 and 10.14.
Miss Autry,
Yes.
Miss Jackson.
Yes.
So we are 5-1 on everything, excuse me, we are 5-1 on everything except 10.14. Mr. Alexander abstained. And then we are 4-2 on the balance, or excuse me, 4-0 on the balance with 10.13 with 2 abstentions.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Alexander.
I need to change. I made a vote. I need to abstain from the meeting minutes from the 22nd because I wasn't present either.
So for the special meeting or the regular meeting?
That was the regular.
On 7/22, corrections made.
And Ms. Jackson, too. Thank you. Next, we will have approval of the resolutions. So we're bringing back to the floor a motion for the approval of the meeting minutes on July 22nd.
Yes. Yes.
Let me run through that one more time. Okay. So we're reading the 9.1 approval of the regular board meeting minutes on 7/22. Ms. Jackson,
Abstain.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes,
Yes.
Dr. Molnar,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Abstain.
Ms. Autry.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you. Next, we will entertain a motion to approve the resolutions and motions in the consent agenda.
I'm
Dr.
sorry.
Robinson?
Just one, I hate to muddy the waters. Isn't it 4-0 with 2 abstentions?
On 10.13,
No, on the July 22nd meeting minutes.
yeah, it would be 4, correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
So 4 yes, 2 abstentions.
Correct.
For the meeting minutes for July 22nd.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Perry. So we are now looking to approve the resolutions and motions under the consent agenda. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, President Autry. I wish to recommend the approval of the resolutions and motions presented in Category 24. They are in proper format, and I move for their approval, please.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
It's been moved by Mr. Perry. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Alexander. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson?
Mrs. Sykes?
Yes.
Dr. Molnar?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Autry?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
And Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. And next is our business affairs recommendations. Dr. Robinson?
Thank you, President Autry. I wish to recommend approval of the business affairs recommendations presented in Category 26.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the business affairs recommendations?
I move to approve.
It's been moved by Mr. Perry. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Vice President Jackson. Is there any discussion around our business affairs? Dr. Molnar.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a question on items 26.1 through 26.6. And if there's an opportunity for us to explain and also share with the community, it appears we are serving as the fiscal agent for other school districts. I'm not quite sure, but I know that there are several tens of thousands of dollars involved, so it would be really helpful to explain what's happening with all that money.
Sure. So with our non-publics, we do have one person in the Office of School Improvement who works through that. Her name is Judy Gray. So we call it Title I pooling. So because this, I hate to say it like this, but I imagine little price tags on the top of these students' heads. And when they leave us and they go to our non-publics, those federal dollars follow. So Akron, with many students, we generate more dollars for those non-publics, but a small school like Talmadge and some of these surrounding suburbs, they may just generate a few $100s or a couple $1,000s. And so those school districts would be challenged to hire personnel and staff to serve those kids. So we work together and pool those funds. So typically what we do for the non-publics is we'll hire the tutor, and then we bill those other districts for their proportionate share so that everybody's students get served, and everybody's paying, their, as I said, proportionate share.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions around business affairs? Vice President Jackson.
I don't have a question, but just to elaborate, it's just saying that Akron Public Schools serves as the fiscal agent for these non-public schools. So, and then when they hire like Title I tutors, it's the same regulation. So they may be retired teachers or teachers that's serving in the tutoring pool, but they're just serving as the fiscal agent. And some schools decide not to use the district and manage their own funds, but it.
Well, yes, and that's come up several times, sorry. But this is unique because we're also serving as the fiscal agent for several other public school districts.
So there's a little bit more flexibility with auxiliary. So we do have some schools that choose to manage their own auxiliary funds. So those would be the state funds. But with the federal funds, we are required to be the fiscal agent, and they have to run targeted programs. So in Akron Public Schools, we have something called school-wide. So every student in the school benefits from the program some way, somehow. In our non-publics, they have to rank and prioritize and look at multiple test items to determine which students are eligible, and we call it a targeted program. And so the tutor has to be out in the hallway or in another location and pulling kids out for supplemental services. And so that's why we'll pool with these other districts, because If you only have, if you're Talmadge and you only have $1,500, you can't purchase that many hours of supplemental services. And so again, by pooling those and working with the districts, so we're just in consultation with them. So the districts all come together, either with us alone or together, to decide what are the needs of the building, how do we prioritize those needs, what areas are we going to spend that professional development, staffing, materials, supplies. But then, yes, we then become the fiscal agent for those. I hope I've answered your questions.
Thank you, Keith. Are there any other questions around business affairs? Seeing none, roll call, please, Dr. Thompson.
Dr. Molnar,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Autry,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is unfinished business. Doesn't look like we have any unfinished business. I do not see that we have any new business before this board. And so there's also no need to recess into executive session at this time. And so organizational items, I think that's just announcing our next meeting, which would be on August the 26th. So we will see you folks back then. And we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So,
I move to adjourn.
second.
Moved by Mr. Perry, seconded by Mr. Alexander. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please. Dr. Thompson.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Sykes,
Yes.
Dr. Molnar,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Autry.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. We stand in adjournment at 6:23 p.m.